Alright, good morning, this is Jacob again. So I'm taking a break on the neck for just a moment so that I can work on cleaning up, fettling, and sharpening a plane, and probably a chisel and card scraper, because these are essential items coming up next for my build. So I need to have some sharp planes because I need to be able to plane and thickness the top, back, and sides, and also the braces. And I need to have a good sharp chisel because I need to make sure that I can chisel out very flat the area for the rosette and the binding channels. I need to be able to cut the holes for the tuners. And I need to have a good card scraper because I need to make sure that I can make a very fine finish after sanding and other things. So, got my coffee. I got a nice rainy Saturday morning here. So let's get to it. I'm going to lower the camera so we can see where we're working today. I will say that first off, actually let's go up just a little bit and I'll zoom here. I will say first off that I am working with a carriage plane, which is not really a plane that you would generally work with in lutherie, but I received it as a gift and then worked to the point where I could actually adjust this front area and move it. So it took me about a month of patience to get that to where it was cleaned up enough to do that. But I've got a sole on here that I've got to clean up and get good, and I've got a dull blade with a little bit of rust on it to work on as well. So those are good starting points for us, regardless of what we're doing. We need to have something to clean up and make nice. So I'm going to put my screwdrivers away. I don't need them at the moment. Alright, so what I've got here, I've got a rougher stone to get an edge, to clean up a blade and get an edge. And then I've got a Arkansas stone that's much finer that I can use to polish up that edge once I've got it. So we're going to start with this one. What I'll need is some paper towels and some oil. Some light oil works pretty good. You get a drop of that, take your finger, get yourself a little slurry going. It's a good starting point. I hope that's enough. It should be. And then we're going to go ahead, we're going to take the flat edge, so I've got a beveled edge and I've got a flat edge. Don't ever come the other direction on it. It is sharp enough to maybe hurt you if you go the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge here, and you can see I've got some rust and other things. So there's my flat edge, and then there's my beveled edge, and you can see that this blade needs some help. So I'm going to take that flat edge and place it down here. I'm going to move on one side of our stone, and then we're going to bring it in and move down to the other side. Work the whole stone back and forth. Get that off of there. Okay, now I've got some debris on there. That's from the iron. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off so I can see what my progress looks like. Alright, now I've gotten rid of some rust, but I'm still not there yet, so I've got a lot more work to do. This stone seemed to soak up that oil pretty fast, so I'm going to just put a little bit more on there. This is a light oil. It is not a heavy oil. The oil does two things. It helps lubricate the stone so that I can create that slurry, because it's bringing up some of the old grit. But it also helps protect the metal so that in the future, hopefully, I don't have as much rust on this. But this is also the first time that I'm cleaning up this plane. This is a very old plane. It's 100 years old. So I bought it second or third hand, right? So notice I'm not trying to get this area. I only want this area the part that's going to be resting in the mouth of the plane. I want that to be good and flat so that when I set it up, it doesn't shatter. Okay. Yeah, this definitely has some work to do, so clean that down a little bit. Add a little more oil. My slurry. And this is good practice, so if you're working on this on your own, just hold it good and flat on there. You've been watching a whole lot of YouTube videos. You might have seen that they cut over to the other stone pretty quickly, and it seems like it goes very fast. Well, this is real world here. Okay, so you can see the difference. Get some of that off of there. All right. So I have a flat surface. It's not mirror finish. This is not that kind of grit. This is a rough grit. Okay, I've got all of the surface rust off of there. I still have some patina in the blade, and I may just keep that. Okay, so now that's my flat side. I'm going to turn the plane, so I've been doing this like this. Now I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to work on the bevel side, and I really only want to worry about this beveled edge. So if I come in real close, maybe we can see it well. I'm just going to work that beveled edge to make this plane sharp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fingers down here close to the edge on each corner. I'm going to kind of come at an angle, and I'm going to lift the plane blade up and down a little bit till I find just the right angle so that the whole bevel is sitting on the stone. Now I'm going to work it back and forth like this. Okay. Now this stone is a little bit narrow. I can get the whole plane blade on there, but it's not the best. So I'm going to angle it. I'm just going to turn it just a little bit. So instead of coming this way, I'm coming a little bit this angle. Again, you can put your fingers right up to that edge. Try and keep that blade angled just right. Right on the bevel, the whole bevel. Okay, where I can see where my oil is, just let this focus maybe. You can kind of see where the oil is hitting. You can kind of tell how your angle's going. All right, and I may have a little spot in the stone that maybe is a little bit not flat. Or maybe the person before me put a little radius on this, and that's certainly possible. Okay, so I'm going to take that off of there. I'm going to feel I've got a nice bead coming up on the other side, so I know that I'm getting a little bit of my beveled edge going here. I wish this was... Okay, so you can kind of see where the light kind of hits it. Right, there's the bevel side. Well, I've got a good... on this side I can feel that little bit of bead popping up on this side, so I know that I'm getting a sharp edge. All I got to do is knock that off. Okay, it doesn't take much, comes right off. Now, that being said, there are a couple of nicks in this blade, so I'm gonna keep going a little longer here. Constantly looking to check my progress. I'm rolling the bead on the end of my plane blade back and forth a little bit, so I know that it's getting smaller and my plane is getting sharper. Okay, now this is at a point now I've got a good edge on it all the way across, just where I want it. I don't have any nicks in the blade. I have a little bit of slurry left all over it and a little bit of oil, but it looks pretty good. So I'm going to wipe the excess off of this stone, move it out of the way. I need to get another one of those. Pull out my finer stone, get a little slurry going on that. Again, notice I wiped most of the slurry off of my blade already. Wiped it off of that other plane. I don't want to get that bigger grit mixed into this stone if I can't help it, because I don't want to contaminate this stone with a larger grit and have problems sharpening in the future. So again, I'm going to do flat side first. This is a polishing, sort of. I'm not going crazy with grits here. I don't actually know the grit of this stone. I just know that it's a lot finer than the other one. So I'm going to have a better edge. Yeah. Same process. So basically trying to just get those larger grit marks off of this blade. And it shouldn't take too long if you did a good job on the other one. Alright, so there we go. There is my 100-year-old plane blade with a good sharp edge on it. Alright, so I've got all that stuff. Now, the next step with the plane, because it is older and has some rust on the bottom, move these out of the way over here, is to get the bottom nice and flat. So what I've got here is a cutout of some granite from a sink, and for all intents and purposes it is flat. Flat, flat, flat. I have a piece of 220 grit sandpaper. You could use 80 grit, 100 grit, 150 grit, 220, whatever. This is what I have on hand. I need to go to the store and get some more. But basically what I'm going to do here, actually I shouldn't throw that away, I need that for just this second here, is I've got the plain body here. I'm going to put my blade back in with its everything else here. I've got my secondary blade piece, I've got my blade itself. Alright, so here we go. I've got those two pieces together. Got my blade, secondary blade, or cap if you want to call it that. I don't remember the exact name. Get those tight. Set those in the plain body here. Just like this. I'm going to get the frog cap piece in place here. This goes in really tight. Okay. Now, right now, if I were to go after this, I would dull my plain blade. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take this part and I'm going to roll the blade back, pull the blade back into that body. Okay, so to get it out of the way. Here we go, getting that out of the way. I don't want to get that edge in the way. I do want the tension on the body of the plane and having the blade in there while I do this. The bottom of this plane has some rust on it. It's probably flat, but I don't want to really chance it. Okay, so I've got that on there. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on my stone here, and I'm going to run it back and forth. Okay, the idea here being I want to get a good, smooth, flat surface for when I actually start using this to do some planing. Okay, now you can see some of it's coming off rather fast and some of it is not. So I know that I have right in this area, I have a little spot that just kind of dips down in there. Alright, I've got a little spot on the edge over here. I'm not as concerned about that. But this part right here, I want this part near the mouth to be as flat as I can. So I've got to do this quite a bit more. This will go faster with a rougher grit, but this is the grit I have on hand, so it's the grit we're going to be using. Alright, so you can see, still have a little bit there, but we're getting really close, so I'm going to go ahead and empty this one more time. Get the extra grit off of that if there's any on it. Come back. Alright, So this little bit right here, it is flat now. It's just a little bit of pitting now that you can kind of see. And if I were really worried about this plane being flat at this point, I would go ahead and do something about that. But I'm pretty happy with it. So what I'm going to do at this point is I have, and you can do this either one of two ways. You can use some paste wax, put on the bottom of that plane, or you can use a candle. I like a candle. It's the width of the plane body. Just get that on there. That will inhibit any other somethings coming up. And you're done. Plane's ready to go. Now all you have to do is adjust the blade so that it's actually going to take a bite out of whatever you've got. Alright? And I wouldn't use that for anything else other than fettling a plane or whatever you've got. Get that out of the way for a moment. Now, to do a chisel, much like this one, you do the same thing you did with that plane blade. You do flat side down and then bevel side. Always finding that bevel. It's a little bit easier because you can put that bevel down and you can put your fingers on there and you can really feel where that bevel is. You don't have to take a crazy amount here. You do want this to be flat to a degree, and you do want that front edge to have the same bevel marks. You don't want to roll it across that edge. You want it to be good and flat and square across the front end. You can check that square if you want to with a square. Here's another one that I know that I've got together. The smaller they are, the harder it is to do this. But you can see that you want that edge to be squared up. That's the idea. Preparing a card scraper is a little bit different. You don't get a sharp edge on it, you want to roll a bead on the end. So my process of doing that is with my card scraper, screwdriver, and a file. Put my file on the bench, hold my card scraper flat, the edge on it, square, and I roll that on there till I have a good face of new metal. Okay? Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I need to roll a bead. So, I don't know if I can do this without being in the way. I set my card scraper on the edge of my bench, screwdriver back and forth, make a ticker ticker sound. Do that on both sides. And then on my end, where I've just rolled that bead, one or two good times like that, and now my card scraper is ready to go. Alright? You're just rolling, you're just getting that new edge, rolling that bead, and prepping it with that. And then you can just adjust as you go this way. It's a card scraper. There you go. So, alright, that should get you on the sharpening end. I understand that this took a little bit longer to do that, but that's the whole process.